Hi folks, what a momentous day of generation shifting policy of the replacement resource management law. We have a great country, it's just so hard to actually build anything here. This will change that, I'm very proud to be part of it.
Do you expect that things like the NDRS would would it even be needed under your new policy? And do you regret opposing the NDRS?
Well, I certainly don't regret it. It was a terrible policy all along. There's going to be a new set of zones that councils will have to apply consistently up and down the country. And what exactly they are and the composition of them will be worked out as the new law comes into place, but I don't know why you think I regret it.
What would you say to someone who's upset that maybe their private view will no longer be considered within plans?
Well, as I said this morning, there will be submissions to Select Committee. I would say that it's about 95% there. No bill is 100% when it's introduced, and that's one area where I think many New Zealanders will want to submit, and the government will have to consider all submissions.
You said when you were opposing the NDRS that you opposed that people had a right to expect that the neighbourhood they brought into would kind of stay roughly the same. Do you stand by that? Do people have a right to accept that the neighbourhood is not developed?
Yeah, well, just a second. You've just said two different things and you've paraphrased something I never actually said. No, I've never actually said the things that you are saying I've said. I've said that people do have an interest in their surroundings. That is part of their property right. That needs to be balanced against development. That's the position I've always taken. I think the way that you're trying to categorise it is possibly a little mischievous.
Where would you put that line then between having a right to enjoy your property, including that not changing things?
Well, often you can actually have win-win. So if I look at the area I represent in central Auckland, there are areas around train stations, there's areas around corridors, areas around town centres. It actually makes a lot of sense to develop, and a lot of people want to see that development occur. There are other areas where it's just completely crazy because the infrastructure is not there, the type of housing that's currently there will be disrupted by intensification, and that doesn't make so much sense. But that's exactly the sort of thing that people are arguing over with Plan Change 120 right now.
Just on environmental limits, and do bear with me, this isn't my area. So, but when councils can set those lower or lesser environmental limits, but they have to provide a justification, can you explain that process, how they would justify it, what they'd need to do?
Well, it has to be justified on the facts. So if you think about a different part of the country, there will be some places where the river runs very clear. It's a tradition that people swim in them, and they'll be very sensitive to the level of nutrient that gets into it. There will be other places where actually people don't really use the rivers for recreational purposes, but farming and particularly dairy is a very important part of the economy and employer of young people in the region, and they might have a different view. And I think we should be prepared to accommodate different perspectives in different parts of New Zealand.
So it'll be on a case-by-case basis.
That's right.
And is it always that potentially economic interests would win out over kind of environmental interests, or?
Well, I actually don't think that it's a zero-sum game trading off economic and environmental interests. I gave the example at the stand-up this morning of where under the Resource Management Act they managed to pollute the harbour, kill the oysters and not build any homes. Our goal is to be able to do both. Making it easier to build infrastructure is one way to do that because people can live side by side with nature while also installing the infrastructure to protect the environment, such as water treatment plants.
Should neighbours still be able to stop?
I see Simon's here, he knows a lot more.
Should neighbourhoods still be able to stop densification if they don't want apartment blocks in the neighbourhood?
Well, it depends. I mean, if it's going to work with the neighbourhood and it's intensification that everybody wants, then I think people should actually have their voice heard. If, on the other hand, it's something that people say, well, look, I don't think that this can quite work in the area I'm in, then I think they should be able to have their voice heard there too. The question is, are people being listened to or are people being ignored? And I think on balance, if people are part of any changes that occur, you get to better outcomes.
Mr. Court, you became a MP 5 years ago. You've now had a hand in one of the biggest potential changes to our regulatory system. How does that feel?
I'm very proud. As a civil engineer, I battled the Resource Management Act for nearly 25 years, having to explain to people over and over that actually we could build and protect the environment. So I'm very proud of what we've achieved. Certainly when it comes to strengthening private property rights, I'm proud as an ACT MP as well.
Did you get everything you wanted?
I think it'd be fair to say that the reform we've seen today goes much, much further than if ACT had not been in the room.
What are the key parts that your ACT advocated for?
the regulatory relief mechanism. So if councils want to pick up a felt tip and start colouring in your property with rules that harm your property and really don't deliver a lot of public value, there needs to be a cost on councils to do that. And maybe they'll prioritise and just choose to protect the really special places. And of course a planning tribunal, a referee on the field finally for people who feel councils have treated them unfairly when it comes to consent decisions or just asking them for a whole lot of information that simply slows down the process. So there's two really good wins for ACT that strengthen private property rights in the new system.
Simon, how different is this from what David Parker was going to introduce and pass?
Well, it's different in the sense that we're aiming to have the whole thing implemented in 3 years, and we're going to put the resources behind the reform to do that, whereas Parker was 10 years. And he also had introduced a whole lot of weird novel concepts about the environment that judges and lawyers couldn't tell us what they meant. And we're just sticking with tried and true jurisprudence. We're going to continue with spatial planning. It's important that people know where the infrastructure is going, so I'll definitely credit Parker and all the other urbanists who've told us we need to do that. But this is quite a radically different reform. It's a slimmed down system, the scope of the system's far less, and of course private property rights are strengthened.
Are you a YIMBY?
Am I a YIMBY? Do I want a country where we can build and where young people can aspire to own their own home? Absolutely, 100%.
Do you think some neighbourhoods should be protected from that building zone?
I think that every neighbourhood should have the right to have a say about plans that affect their city and where and how they live, 100%.
Yeah, I got to say, look, you're getting into this really sad, cartoonish dichotomy between people that just want to build absolutely everything, absolutely everywhere, and people who don't want any development at all. And actually, neither of those positions are held by anyone that I'm aware of. In any scenario, any planning system, anywhere in the world, there are going to be people who have a view and they want a process where their view is heard. There will be compromises on both sides. What we are doing is putting in place a planning regime that gives faster decisions, better consultation, that actually goes somewhere if it's necessary or doesn't if it doesn't, and people get more stuff built and more sympathy between neighbours than they'd have under forcing whole planning regimes from on high versus having the ability for people to stop any development ever happening anywhere. And that's where we're playing. We're not in your sort of two dichotomies. I think it's a really unfortunate way to have the debate.
What are your thoughts on the last night's poll, bit of a bump in support for ACT?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's polls where we go down, there's polls where we go up. Obviously, it's a nice way to end the year in that particular poll, but today, if people think about the 9th of December 2025, they're going to say this was the day that Simon Court and Chris Bishop brought out generational change in planning law. Nobody will even remember that there was a poll on the 8th of December the night before.
You obviously thought enough about it to send out a specific press release or specific email to party supporters, asking for more support there. So, I mean, you can't really brush it off and do that at the same time.
I hate to tell you this, but political parties sending out fundraising emails is not really news.
So you're hoping to get more fundraising off the back of that poll? I mean,
I tell you what, and we have. I mean, the amount of people that have actually, in tough economic times, people that have actually donated. Some people giving $10, but they're giving money because they want to see ACT succeed, because they see the kind of difference we can make.
And so it helps when they can see that reflected in the polls as well, the popularity, the fact that you could, be part of another government and be part of further changes or policies.
Well, I think there's no question people want to join a winning team. All right, thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, she had a petition outside Parliament today saying you breached the Cabinet manual when you had those regulatory standards derangement syndrome posts. Do you think that went too far? Any regrets about those posts?
No, not at all. And frankly, I think what people need every now and then is a sense of humour. If you make factually incorrect statements and all that happens is someone makes a bit of fun of you, I think that's a pretty good outcome.
Any message to Tory whānau? That was her last political statement she's going to make.
Oh, okay. Well, I really hope that whatever she chooses to do next, she has a very good life and she finds happiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you.